Good morning, YouTube. I'm going to continue talking about plants and do a few videos today. So I saw someone else's video about talking about how each plant in their lineage of voodoo has an owner, and we do have plants that are associated with certain entities, but we are not necessarily going to honor that spirit when we go harvest the plant like they do. I mean, you could, but we more would use an overarching plant spirit. For us, it would be Grand Bois, who is the biggest tree in the forest, usually the oldest tree, usually near the center of the forest. And we would also give an offering before we go into the forest to listen and ask for safe passage and permission to come into the forest. So that would be more wild plants when you go harvesting them. And for more agricultural plants, it would be in Lukumi traditions, maybe Oko for the earth, or for us it would be the Loa Azaka. We do have, through the Nago Nation, the Yoruban spirits, through the Oguns, we do have Ogu Oseyin, and Oseyin is an Orisha, but originally was an Mpongo of the Congo people, is what they call their Mysterios instead of Orisha or Loa. And he became very popular. And without plants, we can do almost nothing in these traditions, so it's a very powerful mystery to receive. Oseyin is his own thing as well. You can become an Oseyinista for the mysteries of the plants, and it's very much like the Congo traditions, or you can just receive him as an Orisha in the Orisha traditions, but that wouldn't necessarily make you an Oseyinista. So there's other spirits that can help you with plants, such as you may have a guide who's a healer, a curandero, an indigenous folk healers. You may have different saints, like maybe Saint Francis of Assisi, or any other specific spirits that are known to do with healing in natural areas, natural plants. So for us, our holy tree is the ceiba tree. Ceiba pertranda is the genus of the ceiba tree, and it's the male one, looks like it has a bunch of spikes all over it and big beautiful flowers. And it's also known as the mapao, the silk cotton, and the iroko tree in the Lukumi face. And so its leaves are very important in the preparation of lots of items as well. And it's a blessing. It's also a blessing tree, ancestral tree, world tree. You might have indigenous knowledge, such as if you come from, say, a Native American tribe, the area of which you will harvest the plant that has different qualities. If it's on the sunny side, a certain time of day, versus if you harvest it in the shadow, light and dark. There's a bunch of philosophy that reaches into the plant world from other things, such as bitter and sweet herbs, like if you chew on a mint versus dandelion leaf would be bitter. So the cooler plants are sweeter, and then the bitter plants are more amine or hot and have to do more with hot spirits. Or some plants can be healing and poisonous, but the more poisonous plants are also considered with hot or darker spirits, because hot isn't necessarily a measure of light in our traditions. Might be what the plant name sounds like, or like nicknames for the plants to give you an idea of what we would use it for, what the plant looks like. So if it has white flowers versus purple flowers, again, light and dark. So light things are usually good for protection and higher spirits. Dark things are good for darker spirits or for removing things that you don't want. So I have this book, Yui Oseyin, so herbs, and also there's a Yui tribe as well. And so this is more about Lukumi. This book is $50, so it's a little expensive, by William J. Irizarry, but when I was first starting out, it really did help me because it has the scientific English Spanish name and Lukumi name if applicable, Orisha, Odu, some of the very basic usages, and any medicinal knowledge as well. So you can see on here the plant Abre Camino, so open roads, road opener for new opportunities. You have blockages in your life. So it says Elegua on here, so yeah, we could use it with Legba or Lucero, although Lukumi plants are going to have slightly different usages than in Palo tradition, so depending on what tradition you're doing, it's going to be slightly different, and so you need to study your herbs, and still you need to have guidance so you can ask your godparents questions about things. Also it says Ochun, and there's a couple other Orisha on here. And so this is known as the thoroughwort, actually, is Abre Camino. And also I found online a directory of Haitian plants and what they are, although a lot of these plants also don't necessarily have Latin taxonomy or whatever. They're just really local plants. Palo sticks, online you can find charts or directories about what different sticks are used for, or different impungo that they're related to, and again maybe what the plant sounds like as well. So yes, we pray also over the mixture to inform the work, what we want it to do. You can use plants, of course, for many things: incense, baths, cleansing. You can take a broom of plants, like a bushel, or what they call it, a matzo, sweep it down people, and then burn it in a pile. Sweep your house, your walls, corners, and then you like to break the negativity, break the stick of the plant. Incense baths, making certain objects. Usually we will use dried for that, so it doesn't get rotten in certain objects. For the most part, you can get away with local plants, like I said, but then there's some tropical ones you're going to need to order in for any major making of certain objects and ceremonies. So faith healing, so they do definitely have chemicals in them that we know has medicinal value, but also because we are using our energy and doing faith healing, technically you could be able to go outside, take any leaf, birch leaf, oak leaf, doesn't matter, and even though they do have innate qualities, you could just, through the power of the self, you could just take any old leaf, and I wouldn't recommend, then taking it internally, but there's also a thing about applying leaves, sort of like packs, on a person, and then pray with the leaves on the person, because it's faith healing. And so that might kind of seem scary to our modern sensibilities, especially with ingesting it. But again, it's faith healing, so you are using your power of prayer in that through nature or the leaves, and it's not necessarily would be working with a specific plant spirit, or at least not have an awareness of that. But there are definitely concepts, like I said, of light and dark, all bitter and sweet, hot and cool. Plants themselves, like a bunch of flowers on your altar, would be considered an element of earth, but then there's different parts of the plant, like the root has different connotations of being, it's underground, it's in the earth, it's darker. The aerial parts of like the plant, the flowers, the petals are sensitive because they're in like the wind, so the flowers are more for, even though they're in the air, also the dead, and for psychism, for sensitivity of our abilities, because they're like whiskers. They're the white petals that we would use for white flowers, for your sensitive ability, for your aura and that. And also, like I said, flowers are attractive. Alcohol attracts spirits, flowers attract spirits, both good and bad. And even though, like Florida water or flowers, you could cleanse yourself with flowers, and then put your 5 pennies to the river spirits, and then throw your flowers in, and then you walk away and not look back. So But with flowers, when you're working with flowers, you have to be very aware of what your thoughts and your intentions are, because it can call both good and bad spirits. For example, because it's an attractive thing. And so yes, you can cleanse yourself with flowers, which are sweet, but I recommend more using like the bitter herbs for cleansing, because it's removal. Something sour like lemon or something cuts attachments. I feel better than using something sweet, so I would do bitter, maybe bitter baths, and bitter cleansing, and then add in the good things you want in your life with a sweet bath, for example, because that would be attracting, that would be adding things on. So I hope that this informed you a little bit more about usages of plants. Of course, we always use fresh plants for the most part. It has more energy in it, has more plant spirit presence for the most part in fresh leaves. And so people can make bath kits and stuff, but I really would stay away from like bags of salt with dried herbs in it, because it's just not going to have as much power as getting a bath prepared for you that's got all the green and essences from fresh leaves. And you can make this last longer by keeping it in the fridge, adding a bit of alcohol or a bit of Florida water into it. And also with what I was saying about bitter and sweet herbs, we do have concepts of we don't normally mix like the sweet with the bitter, or leaf with flower, although there are a few exceptions, because you have to think about what you're doing. If do you want bittersweet results, if you're trying to remove, then you're adding something attractive in with it as well. That's just my opinion and the way that I've been taught with things. So even though some people say, oh, it's all spiritual, but then now you're going more into like the faith healing side of things. So I hope that helped, and I'm going to be doing a few more videos.